All right. Greetings, people. Greetings. I'm Nathaniel, and today I have with me a book titled The Kabbalion. Okay, the Hermetic Philosophy. It is a essential for Wisen Your Dome, and it was written by some three initiatives. Who they were are not known to me right now at this moment. But I do want to bring you an idea out of the book of chapter 1 titled The Hermetic Philosophy. And it goes as such. The lips of wisdom are closed except to the ears of understanding. From old ancient Egypt have come the fundamental esoteric and occult teachings which have so strongly influenced the philosophies of all races, nations, and peoples for several thousand years. Egypt, the home of the pyramids and the Sphinx, was the birthplace of the hidden wisdom and the nations. From her secret doctrine, all nations have borrowed. India, Persia, Chaldea, Media, China, Japan, Assyria, ancient Greece and Rome, and other ancient countries partook liberally at the feast of knowledge, which the hierophants and masters of the land of Isis so freely provided for those who came prepared to partake of the great store of mystic and occult lore which the masterminds of that ancient land had gathered together. In ancient Egypt dwelt the ancient adepts and masters who have never surpassed and who seldom have been equal during the centuries that have taken their professional flight since the days of great armies. In Egypt was located the great lodge and lodges of the mystic. At the door of her temples entered neophytes who afterward, as hierophants, adepts, and masters, traveled to the four corners of the earth, carrying with them the precious knowledge which they were ready, anxious, and willing to pass on to those who were ready to receive the same. All students of the occult recognized the debt that they owed to these venerable masters of that ancient land. But among these great masters of ancient Egypt, there once dwelt one of whom masters hailed as the masters of masters. This man, if man indeed he was, dwelt in Egypt in earliest days. He was known as Hermes Trismegistus. Okay? He was the father of the occult wisdom, the founder of astrology, the discoverer of alchemy. The details of his life story are lost to history owing to the lapse of the years through several of the ancient countries disputed with each other in their claims to the honor of having furnished his birthplace. And this thousands of years ago, the date of his sojourn in Egypt, and that his last incarnation of this planet is not known, but it has been fixed at the earliest days of the oldest dynasties of Egypt, long before the days of Moses. The best authorities regard him as a contemporary of Abraham. And some of the Jewish traditions go so far as to claim that Abraham acquired a portion of his mystic knowledge from Hermes himself. As the years roll by, after his passing from this plane of life, tradition recorded that he lived 300 years in the flesh. The Egyptians defiled Hermes and made him one of their gods under the name of Thought. Years after, the people of ancient Greece also made him one of their many gods, calling him Hermes, the god of wisdom. The Egyptians revered his memory for many centuries, yes, tens of centuries, calling him the scribes of the gods, and bestowing upon him distinctively his ancient title, Trismegistus, which means the thrice great, the thrice great, the thrice great. In all the ancient lands, the name of Hermes, Trismegistus, and you might want to pronounce it another way. It's all well fine. Just make sure that you understand the power that it possesses and the vibrational flow of this frequency. Was revered, the name being synonymous with the fount of wisdom. Even to this day, we use the term hermetic in the sense of secret, sealed, so that nothing can escape. And this by reason of fact that the followers of Hermes always observed the principle of secrecy in their teachings. They did not believe in casting pearls before swine, but rather held to the teaching, milk of the babes, meat for the strong men, both of which maxims are familiar to readers of the Christian scripture, but both of which have been used by the Egyptians for centuries before even of the Christian era. And this policy of careful dissemination of the truth has always characterized the Hermeticists, even until the present day. The Hermetic teachings are to be found in all lands, among all religions, but never identified with any particular country, nor with any particular religious sect. This because of the warning of the ancient teachers, against allowing the secret doctrine to become crystallized into a creed. The wisdom of this caution is apparent to all students of history. The ancient occultism of India, Persia degenerated and was largely lost, owing to the fact that the teachers became priests and so mixed theology with the philosophy. The result being that the occultism of India and Persia has been gradually lost amidst the mass of religious superstition, cults, creeds, and even gods. So it was with ancient Greece and Rome. So it was with the Hermetic teachings of the esoteric and early Christians. With the teachings of the Gnostic and the early Christians, which were lost at the time of Constantine, whose iron hand smothered philosophy with the blanket of theology, losing to the Christian church that which was its very essence and spirit, and causing it to grow throughout several centuries before it found a way back to its ancient faith. The indications apparent to all careful observers in this 20th century being that the church is now struggling to get back to its ancient mystic teachings. But there were always a few faithful souls who kept alive the flame, tending it carefully and not allowing its light to become extinguished. And thanks to these staunch hearts, peace, love, and light ran rising to you all, and fearless minds, we have the truths still around and with us, even at this present moment. But it is not found in books to any great extent. It has been passed along from masters to students, from initiate to hierophant, from lip to ear, now downloaded inside of your DNA. When it was written down at all, or if at all, which we may think that it has, its meaning was veiled in terms of alchemy and astrology. So that only those possessing the key could actually read it, understand, and overstand. This was made necessary in order to avoid the persecutions of the theologians of the Middle Ages, who fought the secret doctrine with fire and sword, stake, gibbet, and cross. Even this day, there will be found but few reliable books on the Hermetic philosophy, although there are countless references to it in many books written on various phases of occultism. And yet, the Hermetic philosophy is the only master key which will open all the door of the occult teachings. In the early days, there was a compilation of certain basic Hermetic doctrines passed on from teacher to student, which was known as the Kabbalion. The exact significance and meaning of the term having been lost for several centuries. This teaching, however, is known to many to whom it has descended from mouth to ear and so on and on throughout the centuries. Okay? Its precepts have been even written down or printed so far as we know. It was merely a collection of maxioms, axioms, and precepts which were non-understandable to the outsiders, but which were readily understood by the students after the axioms, maxioms, and precepts had been explained and exemplified by the Hermetic initiates to their neophytes. These teachings really constitute the basic principles of the art of Hermetic alchemy, which, contrary to the general belief, dealt in the mastery of mental forces rather than material elements, the transmutation of one kind of mental vibrations into others, instead of the changing of one kind of metal into another. The legends of the philosopher's stone, which would turn base metal into gold, was an allegory related to the Hermetic philosophy, readily understood by all students of true Hermeticism. And this little book that we have here before us, of which this is the first lesson, we invite our students to examine into the Hermetic teachings as set forth in the Kabbalion, and as explained by others, humble students of the teachings, who, while bearing the title of initiates, are still students at the feet of Hermes, the master. We herein give you many of the maxioms, axioms, and precepts of the Kabbalion, all right? Accompanied by explanations and even illustrations, parables, and references, which we deem likely to render the teachings more easily comprehended by the modern student, the individuals of this day and time, particularly as the original text is purposely veiled in obscure terms. So the original maxioms, axioms, and precepts of the Kabbalion are printed herein, in quotation, marks the proper credit being given. Our own work is printed in the regular way in the body of the work. We trust that the many students to whom we now offer this little work will derive as much benefit from the study of its pages as have the many who have gone on before us, trending the same path to mastery throughout the centuries that have passed since the times of Hermes Trismegistus, the masters of masters, the great of greats. In the words of the Kabbalion, where fall the footsteps of the Master, the ears of those ready for his teachings open wide. When the ears of the student are ready to hear, then cometh the lips to fill them with wisdom, so that according to the teachings, the passage of this book to those ready for the instructions will attract the attention of such as are prepared to receive the teachings. Likewise, when the pupil is ready to receive the truth, then will this little book come to him or her. Such is the law. That's the law of this plane of existence. The Hermetic principle of cause and effect, in its aspect of the law of attraction, will bring lips and ears together, pupil and book in company. So smart it be. Stay tuned for the next time I do a reading, and it will be probably on chapter 2 of the Kabbalion, written by the 3 initiatives, and that will be the 7 Hermetic principles. Once again, I'm Nate the Great, and I'm going to hope that this information serves you well.